Okay, so earlier this week, a brand new TV series on Netflix dropped that I had been eagerly anticipating. It's called Sense8. It's made by the Wachowskis. It's this really interesting concept that looked really good on the trailers, and then I watched it. And it just didn't deliver at all. It was really disappointing, in fact. The premise is basically that you've got a group of people who are connected together around the world telepathically, so that they live in sort of the world of their minds, they can connect with each other, and there's this shadowy organisation that is hunting them down. It's got elements of Lost and Fringe involved in the TV series, so it's not really anything new, and it's certainly, if you think about the Wachowskis' own filmmaking record, The Matrix is a film about people who live in an artificial world where they're really living in their minds with other people. There is Cloud Atlas, which is about people who share a common link across history, time and space, I guess. And now this, which is people who share that same common link again. It's nothing really new here, but that's okay as long as you execute it well. And this is not executed well at all. The dialogue is really poorly written. I think the characterizations are well, they're shallow. And they're so cliched. It's just really, I mean, so much of this is about cliched dialogue. Some of the dialogue, in fact, I remember thinking to myself, listening to it and thinking, this reminds me of some of those love scenes from the Star Wars prequels that George Lucas wrote that everyone knows are really terrible. They're sort of some of the most badly renowned film writing was from those particular prequels when it came to those love scenes. And some of the scenes in Sense8 reminded me of that same stuff. What I think this really shows is that the Wachowskis are great at coming up with concepts. So this concept is really interesting. And I'd have to say too, so is the fact that they have set it in different cultures. It's not just all in one country. It truly is a sort of global production as far as where the characters are based and the different cultures that are presented, which is kind of cool. I think that's a cool and unique thing. But as far as the writing and what they've produced, how they've executed it, it's just terrible. What should have been really good and had all of the classic makings of a really interesting sci-fi series has just failed big time to actually deliver that. And to be fair, this has become a bit of a hallmark now of the Wachowskis. A lot of their productions, Jupiter Ascending, for example, their latest movie, was supposed to be this big epic space operatic sci-fi spectacular, and it just flopped. It didn't deliver. It's just not well crafted at all. The concept is interesting, but it's not well executed. Cloud Atlas didn't really hit. I thought it was an okay film, but it just didn't really hit. I think it was just too big and it sort of fell under its own weight. It got too big, too weighty. There was too much there. They tried to do too much. And if you go back right to The Matrix, I'm a bit of a fan of The Matrix. Even the second and third films, I know a lot of people don't like them. I thought they were okay. There's some stuff in there that's not good though. And even in that Matrix trilogy, you can actually see where I think the Wachowskis start to fall off the wagon a little bit, and that pattern starts to set in, where you've got this really great concept that they've thought up, but then they don't execute the writing and turning that concept into a really coherent and interesting sort of narrative and story. It sort of starts to get lost, and they throw lots of different elements in there, and it becomes too big and clumsy and burdensome until it just, I think, just sort of falls in on itself and doesn't really work. There's been several movies now, including, as I said, those Matrix sequels, where that exact sort of stuff has started to creep in, and this series is, unfortunately, is no different. Like, if you think about Lost had a similar sort of thing going on, where you've got all these different characters. So you've got quite a big cast of characters and events happening, and you've got to sort of tie it all together and give a whole lot of different backstories. But they did it really well because they gave time to those backstories. They gave time to that sort of exposition. This Sense8 TV series doesn't do that. It just rushes everything, and right from those first couple of episodes, we have this sort of fake sentimentality really shoved down our throats. So rather than building up and spending time actually developing characters in a way that actually gives them depth and helps us to engage with them and feel a connection with them, we're all of a sudden thrust into these huge, profound and deep moments, and which, to make matters worse, aren't very well written. A lot of them, they are really cliched and very shallow. And so we're thrown into these deep moments and we don't have a connection with these characters, and it just doesn't work. It comes across as very trite, as very forced, and unfortunately it just lets the whole show down. There's a whole lot of stuff I could go on. There's lots of things that just don't make sense in it, and I don't mean the plot in general. I can follow that, it's not that hard. You just got to keep your eye on the ball. But what I mean is there's things that happen in this that are typical of TV shows that have very low budgets, and there's, you know, way certain scenes are executed or certain characters deliver very cliched dialogue, and yet this is supposed to be something that's a bit more than that. It isn't, and it doesn't really deliver at all. So for me, this was a huge disappointment because I was looking forward to this series and it looked intriguing. It looked like it had a lot of promise. Just hasn't delivered. Now, if you do want to watch a TV series though on Netflix that does deliver and is quite complex, is trying to go for something I think just as complex and broad, if you like, in scale as what Sense8 is doing, that is the new crime thriller, drama thriller, noir thriller called Bloodline. Bloodline is really awesome. I was a bit skeptical about this one, actually. I was a bit dubious when I first heard all the publicity and everyone was hyping it up, and I thought, we'll see. Well, it only took me a couple of episodes. Once I got past, I think, episode 2, I was hooked. It's a really intriguing concept, and they really take their time in developing these characters. Now, what's interesting about Bloodline is when you look at it on paper, it probably shouldn't really work as a TV series that so many people have really been impacted by, I guess, and drawn into, because it's about a family that lives in the Florida Keys and runs a sort of upmarket bed and breakfast sort of accommodation, beachfront accommodation, sort of small hotel motel thing. Now, most people don't live in that sort of world. We don't associate with people in that world. So in many ways, this could have absolutely failed. People just wouldn't have connected with the characters, you know, a whole group of sort of rich people and their woes and troubles. But this TV series is really well produced and really well written, and unlike Sense8, there's real depth to these characters, and there's real nuance here as well, which I think is really, really important. What it ends up doing is it ends up touching on some very important and profound universal themes about the human experience, things about sin, about evil, about good, about redemption. And it really hones in on those things in a way that's very meaningful, that has nuance. There's no good characters, bad characters. No one's black and white. All of these characters have their secrets. All of these characters have their moral nuance. And it presents a very, I think, importantly nuanced view of the moral life and what it is to live out morality in the real world, where sometimes we fail, or we might be really moral in one area, but in other areas we might be very immoral. And the characters in this series are like this. The other thing that's really amazing is the visuals and the way it's crafted. As I said earlier, it has that real film noir sort of feel about it, and it's just really well crafted. I really can't rate this series highly enough. So if you're looking for something to watch on Netflix, then I would say give Sense8 a miss. It just doesn't deliver. And also the other thing which was really frustrating for me was there's just these porn scenes that are chucked in, and they just sort of appear here and there. They don't do anything to advance the plot. They serve no purpose other than what appears to be just titillation. And to me, it's cheap, cliched, and easy sort of stuff. So I'd say give that a miss. What I would encourage you to do, though, is go and check out Bloodline. As a very, very interesting and complex character development and really nuanced sort of story. A very great and profound exploration of morality and redemption and themes like that. So yeah, highly worth checking that one out, Bloodline. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on Quick Cuts.